Josh Allen, quarterback supreme, leading the Bills to the top of the league. Weapons by his side, and that defense hella mean. Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. I said Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. Yes. Come on. J17 leading the charge. Buffalo Bills on the rise. Passing game on point. Ain't no mirage. Happening right in your eyes. Ain't no surprise. Buffalo second to QB. Stephon Diggs holding in the pass. Group cars in. Have to go deep. We're circling wagon. Just wait and see. From Wyoming to the NFL. Josh Allen's got the skills. Air raid. Deep ball. Touchdown for real. Leading the Bills to playoff drills. Real time. This ain't no drill. Cold game. We're giving them chills. Check the score. Now you know the deal. Nickel City Mafia.
What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Welcome to a Wednesday evening. I am Mike Thornton. This is my co-host, as always, Jake Podger. We're going to be talking about, have the Buffalo Bills narrowed the gap? Can they get over the hurdle? Can they finally beat this dominant Chiefs team? We're going to talk about that and go over some of the position groups, and actually all the position groups, and give you our best take on who we think has the best position group. And then we're going to talk about some big disparities between the two teams. So, Jake, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great, Mike. Yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm excited about this show. I mean,
hell yeah.
We've been doing shows about the AFC East teams. You know, are the Dolphins the biggest threat? We talked about the Jets. And, yeah, they're all big threats to the Buffalo Bills. But if you get out of the AFC East and you want to get to the Super Bowl, there's one team, and Bengal fans, don't be upset. We're going to talk about you next week. We know we got to get past you as well. But you're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, who've been to 5 straight AFC championship games, 3 Super Bowls, 2 out of the last 3 they won. This team is a beast of a team. And for whatever reason, we just haven't been able to get it done. Last year was a different story. We did beat them in regular season. We didn't get a chance to play them in the playoffs. We had a chance. We had to beat Cincy to have that right. We didn't get it done. But so the way we're going to do this, the way we've been doing our comparisons, is we've been going position group by position group. We're not going to break it down into too much detail because I'm going to save 3 position groups at the very end, Jake, where I think the biggest disparity is. And we'll talk about what has to happen for the Bills to kind of get closer, or what has to happen in order for the Bills to get level or even close to the Chiefs in these certain position groups. So let's get started. The first one, I'm going to give you my take. I've been doing a lot of research. You know, I'm a tech guy. I'm a data guy. Yeah. You know the ins and outs. You know the X's and O's. I'm the fan. I'm the one who looks at numbers. I look at stats, and I use PFF a lot. So for those that don't know, PFF is Pro Football Focus. It's a nice tool. They grade players' performances throughout the year, and I use that a lot. So let's get into the D-line first of all. And again, I'm just going to give you the position group. You tell me if you agree with me and discuss that a little bit, and then we'll go deeper into the 3 position groups that I think the biggest disparity is. So let's start with the D-line. For me, I'm going to give the winner on the D-line to the Bills, and I'm going to tell you something. I want to say that all of these position groups, a lot of them are coin flips, like a flip of a coin. You could argue both ways. You can talk about the depth on each of these teams. And again, there's big question marks for the Bills, Von Miller. So I'm assuming with that grade right there, Jake, that Von Miller's back and healthy. So you got Von Miller starting on let me give you the starting 4 for the Bills. Von Miller, Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, and Floyd, who we just got in free agency, yep. Leonard Floyd. Chiefs, who signed a beast of a player from the Niners, Amenahu. They've got Nadi. They got Chris Jones. And by the way, Chris Jones is by far the best player on either side of those, the defenses. He is a star. Don't get me wrong. But for some reason, Jake, when we've played him over the past few years, the Bills come up with a good scheme against Chris Jones. Maybe you agree or disagree, but we seem to do a good job with them. And then they got Karlaftis, who was a rookie last year, and I really like that young kid, and he's up and coming. But I'm going to give the edge here to the Bills. You agree or disagree?
I absolutely agree, and the reason for that is just because of the amount of depth that our Bills team has, Mike. So you even talk about without Von Miller, look at who we have. I mean, we still have Greg Rousseau, who I know last year was technically a breakout year, and it was supposed to be the breakout year, but I felt towards the end of the year he didn't really shine as much as he was towards the beginning of the year. So I think this is the season. This is the year that he's going to actually really go off. You bring in a guy like Leonard Floyd, who's playing his best football at the ripe age of 31, which is absolutely insane. I've mentioned at the last 3 shows that we have 5 first-round picks at the defensive end position. Now, obviously, not all of them have panned out to be that first-round talent that they've, been drafted to be. But I think with the Bills, they all have a really good fit here. Now, the only guy that's really, I guess we'll see what happens with is Shane Ray. But the other 4, they've been great, and I'm really excited about it. So I just think with the amount of depth that we have at the DN position, and then we had a really nice signing in Poona Ford. We re-signed Eddie Oliver. We have Daquan Jones. We finally have a guy in Poona Ford, as I mentioned, that has the ability to play Daquan Jones's position, which is awesome. So there's just so much depth there. The Chiefs don't have that. They have a high motor guy in George Karlaftis. And don't forget, they released Frank Clark, which is huge for them. So I think last year it would have been a lot closer, but this year I'm taking the Bills by a lot.
Well, a lot. All right. Well, I won't go that far. You won't hear me say a lot on any of these.
Yeah.
I'll let you say that. Samuel, yeah, we're going to talk about the coach.
Sammy V, let's go, baby.
That's one of the position groups near the end that I think we're going to go into deeper discussions. So just hold on for a little bit about that. All right, so we both got the Bills. You say by a lot. I say it's close, but I like our depth there. Linebackers, I mean, there's no team we've given the Bills the edge over in linebackers. So again, it's the Chiefs here. We got Matt Milano. We don't know who's going to be playing next to Matt Milano. We're hopeful for Dorian Williams. We're hopeful for Terrell Bernard. We just don't know. We just don't know.
Right.
And on their side, they got Bolton. They got Willie Gay Jr. I mean, Bolton's just, both of those linebackers are, I'm going to use your term a lot today, dogs. They're dogs, Jake. So you got to give the Chiefs the
And don't
edge
forget,
here.
they just signed Drew Tranquil as well, who is a really good player. He could play all over the field. He's kind of like a hybrid almost, more of like a rover type linebacker for them. So what he did in LA was fantastic. Notre Dame guy, shout out to Ben Violani joining us here. He's a huge Notre Dame guy, so he knows an awful lot about Drew Tranquil. Really nice signing for them, under the radar signing for sure.
So Ben's in there. Hey, good to see you, Ben. I'm not worried about the linebackers a lot. Maybe you know something. I know you're close to Orchard Park. You work like walking distance.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe you've heard something, but I'm super worried all day until
we
find out.
Well put with this next comment here, because a good defensive line can really hide any types of gaps you have at your linebacker position. It can make some of the, I guess, most suspect linebackers look good if your D-line plays well, because all they have to do is just be there in the right position.
Yeah. All right, Ben. Well, I hear you. Just don't agree with you.
But I do have to agree with you, Mike, because I'll tell you this. You look on paper, the Chiefs have a very good 3-headed monster in those linebackers. And they don't really play. They play the very same scheme that the Bills do for the most part. But I think the biggest difference, we'll talk more about this, is the fact that they're able to make adjustments. And on top of it, they have a little more depth, I think, there, and some more starting experience as well.
All right. Let's get into the corners here. So, again, we're going to do this. I mean, we talked about this with the Jets. Straight up top 3 starters versus the top 3 starters for the other team, and then maybe depth. And here, we got Elam. Hopefully, we don't know if Elam's going to start. We think he is. I mean, we thought he would start last year, and Christian Benford took that starting role. And Christian might make another run for it. Who knows? He might be pushing Elam pretty hard this year. Taron Johnson, my favorite corner, slot corner. And then, of course, Trey White. Came back from ACL last year, and it was rough for him. Yeah, of course, you expect that. You don't expect a guy to come back from ACL and be the guy he was before the injury. But now he's had a lot of time to recover, and we're going to find out. But on the other side, you got Snead, McDuffie, and Watson. Again, these are straight up, and Jake, I can't project. I can't say White's going to get back to his former self. I don't know. He has to prove it to me. So with that said, and Elam, again, really wasn't a full-time starter last year.
Yeah.
And we don't know why we struggled with that. But I'm going to give the edge to the Chiefs on this one.
Wow.
As far as 3 against 3. Now, if you want to add in the depth, which you did on our last show with the Jets, if you say we got Christian Benford, I just talked about that. We have Cam Lewis, who I think is more of a safety now.
Yep.
We have Dane Jackson. So we have a lot of depth. If you want to say bring in depth, Mike, bring that into your choice, then I give the slight edge to the Bills. But straight up, top three on their side versus starting three on our side, I give the edge to the Chiefs.
Wow. I am going to respectfully disagree with you. Now, while I do think the Chiefs have a very solid cornerback room, I just feel like you put our top three versus their top three, and I know there's a lot of what ifs there.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, Mike, turn on the tape. You got this guy, Trey White, who I know it took him a little bit to kind of get back to form, but there were signs last year of the old all-pro Trey White, and I think this year he's just bound to really have a monster season. So I'm really excited about that. I know he's ready to kind of prove everyone wrong and prove that he's dedicated to playing the game of football again. So, and, obviously it's just anticipating things. But what I've seen, it just looks like, for me, he's going to be a top 5 corner again, which is awesome. So you look at that. I know Kaiir Elam, he was benched. And actually, when he did come back, he rose to the occasion. I think he battled through some adversity last year, and he really did a hell of a job. He shut down some really good receivers too, actually. Limited guys to very few catches and made some plays when it mattered. Actually, I think in this Chiefs game that I have going on behind me, which is last year's Chiefs game, I believe he did make a pretty big play in that game. So, and then you got to go with your boy, Taron Johnson. I mean, top 3 nickel corner in the league. So, listen, while the Chiefs do have some good players here, you got Jalen Watson, who was a very good surprise player for them as a seventh rounder. Algerius Sneed, who's a good proven veteran, and then who is he? Trent McDuffie, their first-round pick. I like who they have there. I think it's a very solid cornerback group, but I'm going to give the Bills the edge, not only because of their top 3 starters, but also I'm going to go back and say, in terms of the amount of depth that they have too, it's just a better room altogether.
All right, Jake. So we agreed. Like anything you disagree with me, I'm going to mark that as a draw.
Okay.
I'm going to put that as a draw. Safeties. Now, here's TJ Donahue.
Yep.
Do you know TJ as well?
I do not. TJ, welcome.
Right. Taylor Rapp, yes. And
Hell
this
yeah.
is why, one of the reasons why I'm giving the safety edge to the Buffalo Bills. You got Hyde and Poyer back together, maybe their last ride together.
Yeah.
And you got that great signing of Taylor Rapp. I love that signing. And then on the other side, you got Cook and Reed starting there for safety. So again, I'm giving the edge here, and I don't think it's as close. This is one where I'm thinking the Bills win handily.
Yeah. And I'll say this. Listen, I know that Justin Reed can also kick field goals and be your place kicker if he needs to be. But I'll tell you this. We have the best damn safety duo in the league. It's going to be tough to beat Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Both coming back, both hopefully fully healthy too. And then you factor in Taylor Rapp, who's going to be on the field. They're going to have some specific packages, probably all 3 of them on the field. I'm really excited to see what Sean McDermott does with that. How about freaking DeMar Hamlin just raising from the dead, coming back, and he's going to play football this year. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so I want to say for those in the channel, I mean, I see some folks out there. Let us know who you are. Let us know what team you're supporting. We welcome all fans, all fan bases. And again, if you're a Bengal fan and you jump in here, you're like, why are you disrespecting our Bengals? We are not disrespecting your Bengals. We will be talking about them because
we'll give everyone their flowers.
Not only do you got to get through the Chiefs, but you got to get through the Bengals. They proved that last year as well. So, Jake, with all that said, I'm going to give the complete second. If you look at it as a whole, and we've been doing this lately, I'm calling that a draw for me.
A draw? Wow.
Because
you think it's that close?
I gave the corners to the Chiefs, gave the safeties. Does the safeties, I did say there was a bigger gap there, so you could argue that I should say Buffalo here. But I'm gonna give it a draw.
Wow. Okay. I don't know if I agree with it. I think there's a huge gap at the safety position. That's where we thrive. Actually, I guarantee you look at any team in this league, I bet you'd put the Bills over them. There's only maybe 2 or 3 other teams that can compete with us there. And it's still, I don't know. I think the Bills are pretty much second to none at the safety group.
Well, I did say, whatever, if you disagree, it's a draw. But I already have this as a draw, so maybe you can tip me to the other side. I'd like to ask the folks in the channel there, when it comes to the complete secondary, your safeties and your corners, who are you giving the edge to between the Bills and the Chiefs? First one to chime in, I'm going to...
TJ Donahue, back me up on this one, brother. We need some help here.
Got to wait a few seconds. There's always a delay there. But I get where you're coming from, Jake. And honestly, based on the fact that I did say the safeties, I thought there was a bigger gap there. And Big L chimes in.
Hey, there we go, Dad. Okay.
I'm gonna go to the Bills.
Sam says depends on Trey. I agree,
Yeah.
but Sam, if you heard what I said, I think he's having a phenomenal minicamp from all the rumors going around out there, and he's set to prove everyone wrong this season. I think he's going to return to form.
Yeah, and I want to say, Big L, it's good to see you, man. Where you been? I was asking Jake, where's Big L been? Haven't seen him in a while. Maybe we're doing our shows too late for Big L, Jake.
He's been fishing. He's been playing cards. He's been retired, just living his life. They are almost going to be, they're going to be in Alaska in a month. So, yeah, they're absolutely killing it right now.
Nice. Well, good to see you out there. Let's see here. So now we're going to jump over to the offensive side of things. We're going to start with the wide receivers. And in this case, Jake, I'm giving the Bills the edge. Diggs, Davis, I'm not real sure. I mean, depends where you look, who they have starting at the slot position. You know, PFF has Hardy. I'd rather see Sherfield start at that slot position, in my opinion. Even Khalil Shakir, as a matter of fact. But you got Moore on their side of it. You got Tony and Scantling. And Sky Moore was a rookie last year. So in this case, I'm going to give the Bills the edge. Now, again, even last year, I would have given the Bills the edge. But, you know, Mahomes is that type of guy who can elevate any receiver. I mean, he's that good of a quarterback that he can make. And look what he did. Look what he did. When they lost Tyreek Hill, like, oh, man, what a big, there's a kink in the armor. Here we go. And they win the Super Bowl, man. So I'm giving the Bills the edge here, though.
I agree with you on this. I think the Chiefs definitely are the epitome of the next man up mentality. And I'll tell you what, it's worked for them really well. Pat Mahomes definitely elevates the play of everyone on that team. They did draft Rashee Rice in the second round, I believe it was this year, out of SMU. Really good receiver. I like him a lot, but, another rookie receiver, it's just like, hey, bring in Juju for a year, get rid of him, bring in another guy. It keeps rotating over and over again. But there is one constant. We're going to get into that group next, probably.
Yeah, so to end the wide receiver thing here, again, I think the wide receiver thing is making me feel like back in the Belichick days in the Patriots. They would just bring in these, what you thought were average wide receivers, not number ones, number twos, but they'd get it done. They'd get it done. And that says a lot about the coaching, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and the quarterback. So, all right, we'll give that to the Bills. Let's get into the tight ends here. And how can you go against the greatest tight end in the history of the game? Yes, I'm calling him the greatest tight end in the history of the game. I've seen a lot of them, but this man is special. So I got to give it to Travis Kelce, Chiefs, on this one.
Yeah, and then don't forget they have Jody Fortson, a Buffalo boy, who is a red zone threat for them. They have Noah Gray as well. That guy, they find a way to incorporate everyone in that offense. It's unbelievable. Just when you think you got Travis Kelce covered, you got these other athletic freaks behind him who are just able to catch touchdowns and do whatever you ask them to do. It's really amazing. Now, while I do think the Bills have upgraded this room quite a bit, especially with the draft of Dalton Kincaid, bringing him in, we have by far, I think, the best tight end room in the AFC East. But I'm not ready to say we have the best tight end room in the NFL or the AFC for that matter. I think I'm going to give this to the Chiefs just because they have a Hall of Fame tight end playing the position right now.
Yeah. I'd worry about you if you said it was the other way around.
Although they say Dalton Kincaid is Travis Kelce-esque with how he works in space. So that excites me quite a bit.
We got to see that on the field. There's a lot to prove there.
That's right.
I was going to have Big Al run over to your house and give you a temperature check if you had told me that it was the Bills. So, all right, Chiefs get the tight end room. Running backs. You got Cook and Harris on the Bills. You got McKinnon and Pacheco. And Pacheco, who was a rookie last year, just killed it. So was Cook, right?
Yeah.
But Pacheco had more of an impact. That dude, not only can he's like a 4.3. He can run a 4.3, Jake. He really can. Big, powerful guy. And McKinnon just came in. I mean, they were using McKinnon all kinds of passing plays, and he was just killing it in fantasy late in the year. Cook, we're still, the jury's still out. He showed signs of flashes of greatness, small flashes.
Yep.
And we know what Damian Harris can do. But in this case, I called it a draw, Jake. Flip a coin.
It's close. It really is. What Jerick McKinnon did late in the season is extremely impressive. In total, if you include the postseason, he caught 14 receiving touchdowns last year, Mike. That's absolutely insane. No running back's ever done that. He actually set the record for that. And he caught 9 in the regular season, which is just unreal. The way that they were able to incorporate him in this offense is just unreal. It's, of course, a credit to Andy Reid and what he's been able to do throughout his time in the NFL in general. It just finds ways to make these, I guess, no-name players or guys that are overlooked, these really good assets and within an offense. It's crazy, too, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is now their 3rd running back. He's number 3 on the depth chart behind Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon. So this is a former first-round pick who came out, guns a-blazing, basically. He looked like he was going to be the next big thing, maybe the next Kareem Hunt, the next great Chiefs running back, because the Chiefs always seem to have a really good running back. You look over the years, going back to Priest Holmes, by the way, watch the video I just posted. Fantastic about the AFC West running backs. Just going to give a little plug there. Larry Johnson, you had even Thomas Jones was there for a little bit. Jamal Charles, Kareem Hunt had a good couple of seasons, and then obviously some stuff happened off the field there. So you thought this was just going to be a natural thing for him to be the next really good Chiefs running back. And while I think he still is a very good player, injuries have sort of, messed him up a little bit here. And now we got a nice committee for him. So they find Isaiah Pacheco late in the 7th round, and he absolutely killed it last year, 830 rushing yards. So now, while I do think they have a lot of good depth, so do the Bills. You look at who we have. We might roll into the season with 4 running backs on our team on the active roster. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how we use them. James Cook, I think he did show signs of being a really good back in this league. He doesn't have as much wear and tear on him as well, which really does excite me. I think he can be in it for the long haul and kind of do a little bit better than his brother with durability just because of that alone. So Damian Harris, of course, touchdown machine. Latavius Murray had a pretty nice year last year with Denver. And Nyheim Hines, if we find a way to use him, man, look out. But I agree with you. Let's call this one a draw. I had to just give my input on that.
I love it. So Ben says my scouting source says Hardy is a dog. Let me, I got to say, I got to be honest here. I'm not excited about Hardy. I really aren't. I really am not. I've looked at I haven't seen him play much, but I look back at his data. Again, I'm a data guy. I looked at the numbers. Just not excited about it. Now, I would rather see Sherfield or Shakir. And now I know he's going to get play because we paid him a lot of money. So, of course, he's probably going to be that guy to start the season. But just me personally, not a huge fan. But he did say, but he's a terrible scout.
So I know who he's talking about. And I would like to actually get him on this show with his permission, of course. I'm not sure how he feels about being on camera. He is joking about that, I hope, because freaking love the guy to death. We'll see. There have been some picks that have been a little questionable in the past, but I guess time will tell with this kid. I think we paid a lot of money for him, so you better use him. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to with the money they spent on him. All right, let's get into special. So that one was a draw. Running back's a draw. Special teams. Yeah. Man, we have such good special teams. Sam Martin and Tyler Bass, but Harrison Butker, Tommy Townsend, I got to give the edge to them.
I think you do too. Yeah.
And even in the return game, I think that's a wash. But those two, kicker and the punter, they get the edge there.
Yep. I would 100% agree with that. I'm not going to even argue that one, Mike. I mean, 2 Pro Bowlers, 2 guys that are just awesome at their position. So, yep.
So here we go. Here are the 3 that we're going to have to talk a little bit about because this is where I think the biggest gaps are. And let's start with the O-line. Now, if you go look at PFF, and you don't even have to look at PFF, just watch that Super Bowl from last year, and you saw how damn good that offensive line did against the best defense in the league. They didn't give up 1 sack. It was incredible the job they did in the Super Bowl. Now, they lose 2 of their tackles, right? They rotate tackles again. They did this a couple years ago. Yeah. They're going to replace the bookends there. And let's see here. Who's the guys they signed here? Give me a second.
So they got Donovan Smith at the left tackle position, and then Jawan Taylor replacing Orlando Brown on the right side there. So I think the Jawan Taylor signing is a little bit better. Donovan Smith is starting to show his age a little bit, but still a very capable left tackle, and I think he's awesome still. But Jawan Taylor was a great move for them, and it's basically just flip-flopping, which is what the Chiefs do. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they paid him big money. I mean,
Yeah.
$80 million 4-year contract, $60 million guaranteed.
Right.
And they picked up, like you said, let's see, they picked up
They
Donovan
drafted
Smith.
your boy too. Don't forget.
Oh, I know. I was going to mention him.
Yeah.
So Wanya Morris, who was a guy that we out of Oklahoma, who we really liked in the pre-draft content that we did. At least I brought him up.
Yeah.
They take him in the third round, and I was disappointed. I mean, that's a guy that I think is going to do extremely well for them. So keep an eye on him. So there you go. So they lose the bookings. Now listen, can you know, they did this a couple of years ago after they had gotten beat in the Super Bowl, and they overhauled that offensive line. And dude, the guys that they got in the interior, Tooney, Humphrey, Smith, I mean, they're dogs.
Yeah.
Top dogs. I
Right.
mean, for
I
instance, let's see, Smith. Let's see, what is this one here? Let me give you some information. Humphrey didn't give up a sack all season. All season. He's a beast at center. And then Tooney and Trey Smith. So they got that interior. But a couple of years ago when they revamped the offensive line, it took them a while. They got off to a bad start in the season. I think it was about 5 games to where they really turned it around. And that was the year we beat them in regular season. That was when Rousseau had that nice play there in Arrowhead. I think it was a Monday night game, as a matter of fact. It was a primetime game. So you got to think they can't just rotate those two in without a little, I don't want to say transition time, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe they'll get off to a rough start, but I thought they did a good job with replacing the 2 guys they lost. Now, the guy that they picked up was a 1-year. Was it, who was this next guy? You said it was Donovan Smith. So they only signed him. He comes over from Tampa. They only give him a 1-year deal worth $3 million, $2 million guaranteed. That one would scare me if I was the Chiefs. I mean, like you said, he's up there in age. It's the left tackle. And they did that so that they could keep Taylor over at right tackle. But you spend a lot of money on the right tackle, but you don't spend a lot of money on the left tackle, which is the blind side for Mahomes. So interesting there. Again, I think it's a little bit of a drop off, in my opinion. But like I said, PFF has them rated the top number 3 offensive line, and that's including the new pickups that we just talked about. And the Bills, they have them ranked 22. And there's no doubt. I mean, this is an easy win for the Chiefs here. Big gap, in my opinion. And again, they don't have a Cyrus Torrance projected with PFF, right? They knew about him. They mentioned him. They said they don't think he might be a day 1 starter, but he could get that position soon enough early into the season. Sort of like Spencer Brown did in his first year, right? He wasn't a starter right out of the gate. I think it was the 2nd or 3rd game that Spencer Brown started. So similar for Torrance. Again, Ryan Bates is no joke. Ryan Bates is a pretty serviceable guy. He's not got the build of Torrance. He's not that big, massive man who's going to move buildings. But again, Jake, let's talk here because this is huge, right? This is a big difference here between the 2 teams. And, you know, we have some hopes, but a lot of it is hopes. So what's your thoughts here?
Hopes is a good way to put it. The Chiefs seem to have answers. And going back to your Donovan Smith comment, yes, they do sign Donovan Smith, bring him in as their left tackle. He will start day 1. But they drafted Wanya Morris, literally the pick after our Dorian Williams pick. So that hurts even more because that's a guy that both you and I probably wanted, you know, instead of Dorian Williams. And I love Dorian Williams, but if it's between a tackle and a linebacker, I know they're both need positions, but where we stood last year, you know, we felt like maybe Terrell Bernard was going to be that guy anyways to replace Tremaine Edmonds. So why take another linebacker unless you're going to take a guy in the 1st or early 2nd round? You know what I mean? So it was, definitely for me, it added a little insult to injury when they took Wanye, literally the pick after us. And that is the left tackle and waiting for them. So again, they always seem to have an answer for everything. Now, the Bills did a lot. I think they bolstered the offensive line quite a bit here. You know, I like the signing of Connor McGovern. I love that we got Osiris Torrance in the 2nd round, especially when we did at 59. I mean, that's unreal value for us. So I think we definitely improved there. I think there are still question marks at the right tackle position, whereas the Chiefs, they don't have any question marks. It's a very stout offensive line, and it's, they just managed to figure it out. And I think their game plan is we don't necessarily have to have, 5 all pros on that O line, even though they might now. But if we have a very solid offensive line across the board that just finds ways to get it done, that's the recipe right there. So hopefully the Bills can follow that this year. But in terms of where we are right now, yeah, I think I got to give the Chiefs a major go-ahead gap on this one.
No, I will say this. I do agree with you. I do think the Bills improved. We should be a better offensive line than we were last year. And I do think the Chiefs went down a couple notches, 1 or 2. Again, those bookends replaced. Talking on Orlando Brown. By the way, he goes to the freaking Bengals. Are you kidding me? That guy's a beast. And he's been one of the best tackles in the league for the past, 4 or 5 years since he's been in the league.
Yeah.
And you can't just expect a guy to come in and replace him over there at left tackle. A guy who is, again, if you look at his PFF, because I look at numbers, both the guys they brought in, Jake, are great pass blockers. They're fantastic pass blockers. The run blocking scores is where they suffered the most. But hey, this is a passing league. This is a passing team. And the Chiefs know what the heck they're doing. But again, I think we elevated a little bit. I think they came down just a tad, but still there's a large gap there.
Gap. Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. For those listening out there in Bills Mafia land, Nickel City Mafia land, the Bills have proven that we can beat the Chiefs. And the last 5 times we've played, we've won 2, lost 3. And I was just talking to Jake before the show because we're going to get into the quarterbacks right now. And, Josh Allen, if he wins that 13-second game, which that young man should have, he had his best game as a professional, that 13-second game. If he wins that game, he's now 3-2 on Pat Mahomes. 3-2. And people are talking differently about him, completely differently about him. Now, don't get me wrong, the Chiefs didn't go to the Super Bowl that year. They lost to the Bengals, and we would have had to beat the Bengals at home. But isn't that crazy, Jake, just to think one game, how that could have changed right now, the storylines about Josh Allen when it comes to playing the Chiefs and Mahomes?
It's essentially like the biggest story of his career, honestly. And I think all of us felt like that would have been our year. That was our Super Bowl year. And last year, it was just a lot of, there was just so much inconsistency, I feel like, towards the end of the year. And there was so much burnout from everything that happened. And, obviously those are all excuses. But, I think it totally flips the script on how we're talking about the Bills right now. Even it's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of hate. Josh Allen can't do this. He chokes in big situations. Again, he wins that game, which he should have. Man, that's one that,
and it's arguably the best quarterback performance in postseason history that he had in those 2 games combined. Crazy.
Yeah. So the next one was quarterbacks, and obviously, we're not going to debate that Josh Allen's better than Mahomes. Mahomes is arguably, and we have some people already saying it. Some friends of mine, the greatest quarterback of all time. Now, I said, hold it there, boys. Let's not say that yet. But my God, Jake, he's been to 5 straight AFC championships, 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. 2. He's doing things that no one else has ever done. He's got one of the strongest arm. I mean, I would love to see him and Josh just go at it to see who can throw the ball the furthest. Because tell you what, he's got maybe every bit of a strong arm as Josh.
We're still waiting on that, but I don't think we're going to see that until retirement because they have a clause or something.
No
that
one's
won't
going to
allow
want to do
happen.
that.
Yeah, because of injury and you never know what dumb stuff's going to happen. So
exactly. Yeah. So I mean, you have to give Mahomes the Chiefs the edge here. But listen, PFF had this ranking of all players at every position. Of course, they had Mahomes as number 1. They had Josh Allen as number 2, and Burrow number 3. And they said they could be flipped, Burrow and Josh, but they gave Josh the edge because Burrow can't do the things on the ground that Josh can. Not that we want Josh to keep doing that, but again, he brings that to the game. And so, again, is Josh Allen better? Nope. Chiefs get the edge here. Is Josh Allen capable of beating him? Yep, he's done him. He's done it twice. Should have been 3 times in his career. So I'm not so worried here, But again, you got to give the Chiefs the edge.
I would agree.
And then to me, maybe the biggest, I mean, there's the O-line. I think the quarterbacks aren't that big of a gap, but the coaching staff, Jake, this is huge. How do you beat a guy, Andy Reid? He's won 100 games with 2 franchises. He's arguably, I'm not going to say arguably, he's the best play caller in the game, arguably the best coach in the game. And then they got Steve Spagnuolo on the defensive side. And the dude just, they know how to change things up. I mean, last year, I think they were losing 4 regular season games at halftime. They come out, they make adjustments, they win those games. Even in the Super Bowl, they were down by 11 at halftime. They go in and they make changes. And one of the big changes, one of the things that they've done, I read about this as I was doing the research, is last year, I think they had 17 touchdowns go to guys that were put in motion. You saw that in the Super Bowl. There was 2 motion guys, and they were wide open for touchdowns.
Yeah.
And unlike other people who use that motion as a gadget, they put that guy in motion, kind of, make people think, but they don't do anything with them. Whereas the Chiefs actually like to put guys in motion and utilize them. And this coaching staff, they're brilliant. And then, of course, don't get me wrong, I love McDermott. I do think he's up there as far as talking about some of the best coaches in the league. But then we got a 2-year, an offensive coordinator who's only got 1 year under his belt, struggled last year, struggled to make adjustments. It's probably part of the reason why Diggs was so upset coming into camp. To me, this is a big edge for the Chiefs. And I mean, talk to me, convince me, Jake, that we somehow can compete. Our coaches. Again, I blame the coaches for Josh Allen not getting that win in the 13-second game. I do. And don't tell me that, why am I forgetting his name? Who was our defensive coordinator?
Leslie Frazier.
Sorry, excuse me, folks. I'm older. I forget things. So that's why I have Jake over here. I don't blame Leslie Frazier in that game because I've heard rumors that McDermott took over the play calling. Whether that's true or not, you have to know that McDermott had his hand in the cookie jar. And you can't put that all on Frazier. So, again, I blame the coaches. I mean, 13 seconds, man. How do you... Again, it's bugging me. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. But talk to me, Jake.
Yeah, situational football has not been good for the Bills under the Sean McDermott regime here. It really just hasn't been. And it's been an absolute killer for us. We want to take that next step. But, you're going to be playing in close games. Not every team in the NFL is going to get absolutely spanked by us. I mean, there are a few teams that will, but the NFL is a very close league. And when you play teams like the Chiefs and the Bengals, these games are going to be dogfights, and it's going to go right to the very end. So I think that's really the biggest concern is, can Sean McDermott, now that he is the full defensive play caller and he has full control over all of it, and that's not to say that he didn't before even, and Leslie Frazier was just taking orders at that point. Because I do think there was a lot of that going on last season specifically. And then, of course, in the 13-second game, yeah, absolutely. I definitely believe those rumors are true. Yeah, I think that's really where, Sean McDermott is just a good coach and not a great coach, and that's why Andy Reid's a great coach. Going back to your comment about how they use the motion on offense and actually utilize that player, it got so crazy that even against the Raiders last year, they did a little ring around the rosy play and basically mocked them on their own turf. And they actually had it called back because I think it was an illegal motion. But yeah, just absolutely hilarious. Yeah, the way that Andy Reid draws these plays up, he is just an absolute genius. And listen, I love Eric Bieniemy. I hope he does great things there in Washington. But the major part of this Chiefs offense and the influence on this Chiefs offense certainly comes from Andy Reid. Now they have Matt Nagy in that position, which former Bears coach. He's already coached with the Chiefs before. I think he was actually their OC.
He was their offensive. Yes. Yeah. In 2016 and 2017, he was the OC. Right. And then he got hired as the head coach for the Bears. And that didn't work out. 2021, he was fired. And of course, he comes back to the Chiefs in 2022.
And now he's got Pat Mahomes at the helm, a very seasoned Pat Mahomes. So sky's the limit. I mean, you saw what he did with Alex Smith at the quarterback position, and no disrespect to Alex Smith, but he's not Pat Mahomes. So I think they're going to have a lot more fun this season, even more so. Curious to see how they they draw up their plays and, how they utilize their personnel, because now they have some new guys at the receiver position. So, yeah, I think there's just a big gap there. When you look at Steve Spagnuolo, too, I mean, that guy will just take an absolute beating, just take all the punches handed to him, but somehow come out on top. Like you
Yeah.
said, he makes adjustments. I mean, he can give up 35 points, but it comes down to a few plays that really matter and kind of swing the game. And Steve Spagnuolo is able to make that happen for the Chiefs. He does a tremendous job with that. And again, I think that's been another issue with us too, is just the failure to either recognize, or maybe it's just stubbornness. I don't know what it is, but the lack of adjustments that are made, or when they are made, it's just too late in the game and there's no hope. So, yeah, I would like to see more out of that from the Bills this season. I hope it does happen, but right now it's hard to put any coaching staff over the Chiefs.
What do you expect McDermott to do this year on defense? Because I think you've been talking that you're expecting something different this year than you've seen traditionally with the Bills.
I am. So obviously we're going to stay in that nickel-based defense, but I do expect there to be some more aggressiveness. I expect there to be some utilization of, some nickel corner blitzing and some, different stunts and some, maybe you send a guy up the middle even. I think there's going to be a lot more of that. Whereas in the Leslie Frazier defense, you didn't see as much of that. We kind of played back and played a very true zone scheme, and we didn't send a whole lot of blitzes. And I think at one point during the year last year, we were dead last in the amount of blitzes that we had on the season, and that was by a long shot. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that this year, especially with the addition of Taylor Rapp and Leonard Floyd now.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see something slightly different. Lots of pressure on McDermott, and I was worried that they're cutting him a little thin there. You're a head coach, and now you got to have that responsibility. But they did bring in, talk to me about this assistant coach they promoted.
Yeah, Eric Washington. So very highly regarded, especially by Von Miller. Von Miller always talks about him in his press conferences. I don't know if you've caught that or not, but he always mentions Coach Washington, Coach Washington. Guy's been in the league for a long time, and he has earned the respect of his players. I think this is a really good guy to promote, and actually a guy that might be in waiting to get a coordinator position in the future. I'm not sure if that's what he wants, but this is a guy that could probably handle that. So I think it's a great move to promote a very seasoned coach as your assistant head coach, because that was Leslie Frazier's job before. And I love the move. I think it's supported well by the players, and maybe that was in response to even what Stephon Diggs came at Sean McDermott with, because maybe he didn't like what was going on there. We have now moved on from Chad Hall. We have Adam Henry at the receivers coach. I'm not sure if there's something going on internally with that too. From what I understand, Adam Henry is a really good receivers coach. Odell's receiver coach. So a lot of people were speculating Odell was going to come to the Bills, but obviously didn't happen.
Yeah, I want to say hi to Nicholas. He says Bills all the way.
Hell yeah. What's up, baby?
Love this channel. Thank you. Thank you for your support there, buddy.
Nick and I go way back, Mike. So I met Nick in the 7th grade. I'm actually going to be at Nick's wedding this September. I'm really excited about that. He's getting married in Canada, just over the border here. Really excited for it. And
congrats.
Nick is just an awesome dude. Positivity left and right out of this young man. We used to play pickup football on the street, and this dude would always try to set interception records. He would actually throw the ball up to himself, have someone bat it down, and he would try to catch his own pass and claim it was an interception. Like, this guy wanted to set every record on the street. We used to keep stats out there playing front yard football. Mike, is freaking wild. That's how insane we are.
Love it. Yeah. You two guys remind me a lot of myself when I was young. That's awesome. So I want to ask you real quick, McDermott. So McDermott was the defensive coordinator for the Panthers in his career, correct? How was he back then? How was that Panther defense when he was at the helm?
Well, I'll tell you this. He had Josh Norman. He had Luke Kuechly. He had Kawan Short. He had Thomas Davis. I think he had Roman Harper as well towards the end of his career. So his personnel was unreal at every single level. When you have two linebackers like Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis, too, you could do a whole hell of a lot. Now, I don't know if he necessarily has that same personnel. I think the defensive line and the backside of things, the safety unit, obviously, are two strongest suits. So I'm really excited to see how he uses that. Like I said, I think we'll be seeing a lot more of the stunts in the middle, and maybe switch up the packages. And I'm excited to see how they utilize Taylor Rapp. That Panthers defense was insane. They were so damn good. They had Charles Johnson too, I believe. That they just had a bunch of dogs on that team. But Sean McDermott made that defense what it was. No, there's no doubt about it. But yeah, time will tell, I guess.
All right, awesome. I did want to say, so the big thing again, there's no competing with Andy Reid, guys. Hall of Famer easily, first ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah,
100 wins with 2 different franchises. He took the Eagles to the Super Bowl once, didn't get the win there, but he's just killing it now with KC. Dorsey. Obviously, Dorsey, in order for us to get over that, again, the thumbnail said, did we do enough? Is the gap been narrowed? And again, Reid's Reid. He's here. He's above all. Dorsey has to come up a little bit. Dorsey has to make those adjustments. I hope that man's been doing something in the offseason, studying night and day, figuring stuff out. You would think he is. You would think he's reaching out to. You think Dable would talk to him?
I don't know. I would think so. I think Brian Dable is not a guy to hold anything in, and he worked with Ken Dorsey quite a bit, so I could see them getting together. And the fact that he's also an NFC coach, that kind of changes things a little bit. Had it been in the division, then maybe probably not. There's no chance it's happening. But
yeah.
But this is really well said by Ben too, talking about Sean McDermott's time with the Eagles, kind of learning under the legendary Jim Johnson, rest in peace to that guy. But I think he has taken that type of defense and kind of formed his own with it. And what he did with the Eagles as a secondary coach, I mean, you had Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent, Brian Dawkins, Michael Lewis. The list goes on. Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown, Mike. I'm going to just keep going and going and going. I mean, there's so many good corners to come out of that team. And I think Sean McDermott made a major impact on that Eagles roster back in the day. He worked there from maybe 02 to 2009 or 2011, something like that. So he was there for a while.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap this up. So let's get back to the whole concept of this show. Has the gap been narrowed? Now, don't get me wrong. We beat the Chiefs the last 2 years in the regular season. We beat them. And we play them again in Arrowhead this year. So we're going to get a great test. To me, Jake, has the gap been narrowed? I want to say a little bit. I want to say definitely a little bit. And that's a good sign because, like I said, we beat them last year.
Right.
We beat them. And if that gap's been narrowed because of the offensive line, we've improved. Obviously, they're up here, but you have to say they've dropped down a couple notches on that offensive line by the fact that they're rotating in those bookends. The quarterbacks, again, I'm not going to talk much more about that. And the coaching staff. If Dorsey can take it to the next level and get us a little bit, again, diversified and change things up, I'm going to say we've narrowed the gap. So the answer is yes. Obviously, the Chiefs still get the edge. They are the king of the hill until you can take them out. But I do think the gap has been narrowed. Your thoughts? You think so?
100% agree. The Bills got better everywhere in terms of their position groups. And while I think, the Chiefs have a lot of advantages in a lot of different areas, it's absolutely narrowed. Now, I do think the Bills have a harder path to get there because the AFC East is a lot harder than the AFC West. But when it's all said and done, I'm sure we'll be seeing them come January and February, hopefully.
I will say this. Both the Bills and the Chiefs have the strength of schedule, very hard schedules. They're like in the top 5 as far as hardest strength of schedules go. Yeah. So, yes, you're right. I mean, the whole AFC is just incredible. It's going to be I'll be shocked if we get to a 14-3, 13-4. It's going to be difficult. So it's going to be a battle. But next week, we're going to talk about the Bengals because we're not going to disrespect them. We got to get through them. And they showed last year what a powerhouse they are. I mean, they almost went to their second consecutive Super Bowl. And they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they beat us. You can argue they beat us a game in a quarter last year, right? That first quarter, they were pretty much dominating that game. And then, of course, they totally dominated us in Buffalo, which is even worse. But we'll talk about them. So I want to thank everyone for checking in with us tonight, checking out the show. If you're new to the channel, please like, comment, drop a nickel on that subscribe button. Give us a like. It doesn't take any time. Just hit that little button over there. Give us a like. It helps drive the YouTube algorithm, and we really appreciate it. By the way, we want to thank you. Jake and I are proud to announce that we got monetized. Our channel is monetized. We've been working hard for 2 years, and hey, YouTube's going to pay us a little money. By the way, if you ever want to look down there, there's what called the super chat. You know, I can put a nice little chat there. There's a little $sign. You can donate to the channel. Hey, we'd love it. And by the way, what we're planning on doing with some of the, again, we've made $5, folks. So hey, it's a start to.
Let's go, baby. Hey, come on now.
$5 is a start to $1 million, right? We're going to keep at this. I tell everyone at work, man, I got 10 years before retirement. If I keep doing this for 10 more years and we build this channel, Jake, I mean, you can retire early and I can retire and just do podcasts all day, man.
That would be elite, Mike.
Wouldn't it be awesome?
You talk about setting up a future right there. Holy smokes. That'd be pretty cool.
I have a feeling that Jake will be snagged by ESPN.
No, listen, I'm staying here. I'm staying independent. Listen, I'm not going to be like McAfee. No, listen, congratulations to Pat McAfee. I don't think he will ever hear this, but he went and got his, and he is going to stay authentic. You watch. I have a lot of faith in that young man. I know the suits are going to try to tell you what to do, but I think he's going to stay true to himself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, anyhow, thank you again, everyone. We appreciate it. We'll see you Sunday, actually. So Jake and I are going to be trying to do 2 shows a week. We're going to do our Wednesday show, which is a show like this, a little bit longer. And then on Sundays, we're going to bring you just kind of a recap of what's been happening with the Bills in camp or news around the league. It'll be a short show, but we'll catch you up on everything. So again, thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. What do we always say, Jake?
Hey, go Bills.
Yes.